All right. Welcome to another episode of the Beyond Sober podcast. My name is Cody Rain. I'm your favorite ex-alcoholic. Some people like to say, ding dong, bing bong. What is going down, dude? I just had one of the most fun conversations I've had in a while. Okay. And the trip with this conversation is it kind of sparked this understanding of where a lot of people think they are. Now, as a recovery specialist and thought leader, I have worked personally with thousands of people. And I know that sounds kind of like far-fetched. What do you mean thousands of people? I mean, just on my calendar in the past, I don't know, year and a half, there's been 500 bookings on there. And I've been supporting people in the recovery space for 5 years, right? Beyond Sober launched years ago, right? And every time someone signs up for the program, they get the opportunity to meet with me personally. And that's what I just did. I was just hanging out with homegirl and she's doing so well. And that's one of the main things that I like to kind of reiterate to everybody is people think they're doing so much worse than what they actually are. They have already identified as an alcoholic, and most of the times they are not that. There are too many misconceptions about what alcoholic is, and countless people. You probably did it. You identify as an alcoholic, therefore you do alcoholic things. Could you imagine how your circumstances would be different if you started calling yourself an Olympian? If you were just going, I'm training for the Olympics. That makes sense. Your brain and your body is automatically going to go, hey, I thought we were an Olympian. Why are you eating that Taco Bell, right? I thought you're training for the Olympics, right? You're an Olympian. I thought you were going to go to sleep early. I thought we were an Olympian. Do you see where I'm going with this? So as people start to look at, similarities, look at the outside circumstances, and then start to piece this puzzle together, such as I'm a problem drinker, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drunk, whatever labels they choose, they start operating as such. I did the same thing, actually, in different aspects. Now, one of the things that I know for a fact that I didn't do, that everyone thought that I should, is I never called myself an alcoholic. I admitted that I had a dependency. I admitted that there was a level of addiction there. I knew wholeheartedly that I could not live without alcohol in my body. I knew for a fact that alcohol has become my medicine. Granted, this was 8 years ago. Okay. Liver failed, cardiac arrest, all this stuff. Took 18 months just to be a regular person. But never once did I accept the fact wholeheartedly, down to my core, even though everyone else was telling me this, that I was an alcoholic. Dude, I obviously was. 100% I was an alcoholic. No, I wasn't. You got to keep in mind. So many people think that they're an alcoholic because they have a high tolerance, because they drink every day, because they have a very preferred, routine, because every time someone sees them, they have a drink in their hand. They could outdrink everybody that they know. They know how to curb a hangover. They know all the tips and the tricks. They know how to make the gasoline taste just like strawberries. They know everything. And they think that that is what alcoholic is. They believe that if you do all the things that an alcoholic does, that you must be an alcoholic. Let's take it back a second. If you do all the things that an Olympian does that make you an Olympian? No, absolutely not. And that's where so much of this discrepancy comes in, is when I'm meeting with people, they have been living under the label, under the identity, and practicing the behaviors of the one thing that they have guilt and shame about. They don't like the fact that they're drinking the exact same way that their dad did. They don't like the fact that they have the same exact practices that their brother did, who's in the hospital or just recently died. They don't like that they hate themselves or have practiced abandoning themselves in the same way that their mother did or cousin did. They don't like that. And they go, because these family members or friends had a problem and drank because of those problems and developed some type of dependency, this, that, and the other, and I'm doing the exact same things, that I am an alcoholic. That's just not true. That's not the science. That's not the biology. And I just did an interview for Voyage LA. Hopefully it gets published sometime soon. But one of the things that they said, one of the questions they asked me was, what is one of the things that people disagree with you on? And I can't, I've had sober squads hunt me down, death threats, bro. They're like, how dare you? How dare you go outside the 12 steps, man? How dare, why, who do you think you are? You're killing people, man. You're like straight up, people are going to relapse because of you. Shut the front door, boo boo. You're tripping, dog. Everything that you just said to me is from a state of fear. From a state, I know you think that an alternate way of taking care of yourself is the wrong way. I know that you've been indoctrinated and conditioned to believe that if you don't do this, then it must mean this. And if it means this, then this means that you are. That is closed loop thinking. If you're not open to new information, if you're not open to shifting your perspectives, if you have no intention of taking on new information and applying it to yourself, then you will forever be sick and feel sick and do sick. You're probably sick. There's nothing wrong with that. And this kind of, as I'm saying that triggers something that I just said to homegirl. She says, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, you can. 100%. You could sit on the couch and drink Jack Daniels all day long for another 10 years. For sure. Just don't overdo it. And I mean, like, just don't, do too much damage to your liver. Like, don't end up like me. You could do this. You could lose your house, car, job, money, friends, just like me. You could do that. You could easily do that. And guess what will always be there for you? Jack Daniels. But your homeboy, Jackie Chan right there, like, he'll be there 100%. Everything that you don't want to be doing, you're good at doing. You could easily do this for another 10 years. You may not like it. You may not want it. But to assume that you don't have what it takes to make it happen is insane. You've survived everything that's ever happened to you. You think you can't survive a little extra tequila on a Tuesday? You're tripping, dog. You're underestimating your ability to adapt to circumstances. You adapted all the way to get you to where you don't want to be, which is right here, right now. Doesn't it make sense that you have, the drive, the discipline, the tenacity to evolve into someone that is a little bit better? It's so gnarly. And so because of these misconceptions and because of these truths that are going unnoticed, people continue the cycles. And I did the same thing. You got to keep in mind, I had a full-blown addiction for 2.5 years as a high-functioning alcoholic. I needed it to live. The second I stopped drinking, the hour I stopped drinking was the hour that I started going through withdrawals. Now, the reason I say this is because the people, keep in mind, I've met thousands of people one-on-one, Zoom calls every day, every single day. And a majority of the people who are afraid of withdrawals are the same ones who have never had them. And even more interesting is that people that are afraid of the withdrawals are afraid of the minimal results that I was drinking through for years. The reason I say that is to hand the power back to you if you're struggling. Anybody that's, afraid of the withdrawals or doesn't want to go through them or is continuing to drink out of that anxiety and that fear, I need you to know that if I can curb the withdrawals you think you might have if you stop drinking for years and years, I promise you 2 things. You're probably not going to have them because you haven't already. Second, those withdrawals are nowhere near as insane as you think they're going to be. Most of the withdrawals that people are afraid of is literally just a really aggressive hangover. And everyone thinks that because they start shaking when they stop drinking, that they have an addiction. That because their tremors get worse when there's no alcohol in their body, that they are an alcoholic. None of that is true, dude. There's biochemistry, there's biological attributes that need to be active in order for that to be true. Most people can't tell the difference between the shakes from not having enough nutrition in their body and low blood sugar from a long night out of drinking vodka Red Bulls and the shakes from having a full-blown addiction and dependency for years and years and years. They just can't. They can't determine which is which. And so, because of the alcohol, because of the poison, because of the neurotoxin, the drug alcohol, because it lowers our mental health, we just assume the worst. You got to remember, when you stop drinking after, whether it's one night out or 1 week on, You have anxiety, dude. Your chemicals are wrecked. You got 1,500 chemicals in your brain, 50 hormones. You think alcohol is improving those things? No, it's wrecking them. So when you stop numbing yourself, when you stop hurting yourself, and you got to feel the full blow of the damage that's been caused by consuming ethanol, which is what you find in gasoline, you start to shake. You start to feel bad. Your heart starts to race, dude. You start to sweat. Dude, you've been drinking a literal poison, bro. If you weren't shaking or feeling weird, that would be weird. That would be weird, dude. Actually, I got, if you're seeing this on Facebook, I got a video that's going viral right now about someone who's going, it's 2025, man. Can't we basically find a cure to hangovers? No. What are you talking about? Alcohol kills literally 3.5 million people every single year, dude. If you didn't have a hangover, that means that you basically want all of the benefits of consuming a literal drug. You want to be able to overdose on it to the point of blackout, but you don't want to feel the repercussions of not remembering yesterday. You're tripping, dog. Your ability to even have a hangover is proof that you're healthy. The people that I work with, dude, when they don't have hangovers, when they are pounding stupid amounts of liquor and they feel fine, that's a problem. Okay? That's something that I really worry about. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone just the other day and they're like, he used to be super duper duper fit and then he let his alcoholism get the best of him and now he's 90 pounds. He was 200 pounds, 195 pounds. And then the rehabs and the detoxes and the hospitals and all the things, 99 pounds, dude. Less than a hundo. 90 plus. That's concerning. That's really concerning. And this dude's not even drinking right now. He's obviously practicing, his state of sober. He's obviously caring enough to, be here. But 90 pounds as a full-blown dude, that's concerning, dude. That's what piques my attention. Because I know what it's like to lose that much weight. I know what it's like to lose. The average amount of weight loss when someone stops drinking alcohol is 25 pounds. And that's because those that consume casually also coincidentally drink 36 to 37,000 extra calories than what's required in a typical month. 36,000 extra. That's just from your, 4 or 5 White Claws a day. That's just from your, 4 or 5 glasses of wine, your one bottle. That's an extra 1,000 calories, completely unnecessary, that are going nowhere, that your body's just hanging on to, dude. That is directly adding to your weight. That's why you're fluffy, dude. I know you go to the gym, and I know you do cardio, I know you do other things, but that's why you have no tone, bro. Hey girl, it's the alcohol. It's the literal ethanol. Your blood cells are literally expanding in your body. And you think it's the alcohol. It's a drink. Just not drinking, dude. Just not drinking. Just putting it down. Okay? Waiting a month. Dude, you're going to see astronomical shifts in the way you look. Your skin, oh my goodness, dude. One of my favorite things is after working with people or people going through the Beyond Sober program is them going, dude, I was like, I'll be like, hey, dude, you're glowing. And they go, I know, someone just told me that like yesterday. They said, somebody just out of nowhere, they're like, I really like your energy. You're like glowing out of nowhere. That's because you're actually elevating your state of being. There are no more toxins in your bloodstream, dude. Your liver is fully functioning minus any potential damage that may have been caused. Your skin is starting to lubricate itself again. You're hydrated. Just hydrating yourself, Dad, is enough to make you look amazing. This is why I own a brand called Drink Water, dude. Drink water. Like, it's the elixir of survivors. It is the nectar of life. You need it to live, man. And a majority of the shakes and the malnutrition and the things we feel after not drinking is because we're dehydrated. Do you know how many times I've worked with people who are like, I just got out of the hospital for dehydration? That's a thing, man? Like, that happens? What do you mean? You literally consume so little water that you ended up in the hospital, dude. Where do you get your water? Well, does soda count? Does juice count? No. What are you talking about, dude? Water. Drink it. Get a bottle. Figure it out, man. Put some ice in it, dude. Make it, make it decorated, dude. Bedazzle it. Maybe I'll start a bedazzling company for water bottles just to make it more inviting. Dude, I put lemon in there, dude. A little bit of salt. Get those extra electrolytes in there. Dude, drink half your body weight if you can. Like, also, if you're thirsty, Just drink the water. Do it. Do it. The worst that's going to happen is everything's going to feel better, dude. Water is a natural anxiety tool. It helps you get better sleep. It's a mood stabilizer. Did you know that? It helps improve your diet. Yeah, just improving your water intake. And a majority of people don't care enough. They think, oh, well, the whole planet's covered in water, and I'm getting water at the bottom of the glass when the ice melts on my scotch. You're tripping, dog. You are straight up tripping. You've got to drink your water, man. Like, straight up. Like, just practice. Just practice. I'm so overwatered, dude. Like, I'm telling you, I get frustrated at the basic things. I wish I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I wish I didn't have to sleep. I wish I didn't have to eat. All these other things I could easily do. But this basic maintenance stuff is so annoying. That's why we don't do it, dude. That's why when I was sick, it was easier for me to assume that I was taking care of myself by making a drink. You know how many times people go like, I don't need to eat when I'm drinking because there's yeast in my beer. Beer is made of yeast, therefore I'm eating bread. I'm getting food. I'm getting hydration because of the condensation on the glass. This is how abstract people get, man, after consuming this toxin for a long enough time. I'm not judging, dude. I've been dead. I drank it until my heart stopped, till I was throwing up blood, dude. Holy crap, holy, man. Like, I lost my house, car, job, money, friends, everything, man. I'm so good at saying that phrase because I've said it thousands of times. But my point with all of this is regardless if you're drinking alcohol, regardless if you even care about yourself, you still have to focus on your health, man. If you felt better, you would simply do better. Nearly 100% of the people that I meet, including today, feel unworthy of a life they love. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. And I know what it feels like to be in that position. I know what it's like to be so deep down the substance rabbit hole where I've said this before, I've literally concluded at that point, because I was so miserable, that I was the chosen one that was supposed to suffer on behalf of the human race. Because of the trauma, because of the sexual assaults, because of the violence, because of the beatings, because of the ODs, because of the jail, because of the relationships, because of my upbringing, all those things. I could survive all those things every single day. And I got so good at surviving those things that I thought that that's what my legacy was going to be. My legacy was going to be the one that suffered the hardest and suffered the longest. Everything that was taken from me was actually something that I gave up. I never put in the work. I never became someone that could respect what he acquired. I never developed the discipline to take care of my finances, to take care of my brain or my body or my environment or my relationships. I just drank through it, created empty relationships, and thought that life is just about how much alcohol we consume. I got good at that. Nobody actually knew me. There were a few people that could say they saw through that, and they could see the person that was really trying to get out. And to some degree, that's exactly what was happening. And I like to tell people that every single sip of alcohol is an act of self-love when you're unhealthy. More importantly, I like to remind people that we're all attempting to reach our preferred version of ourselves when we drink. And it comes from a state of acceptance and the feeling of belonging. Part of this, keep in mind, I just talked about this for 8 hours in Italy at an event called Evolve 2025 in Umbria. Incredibly powerful. All I had was a whiteboard and 40 people. And I just freaked out, just like I'm doing right now. It's just me kicking it with myself. I got my cell phone right here. There's nothing on it. And I'm just saying a bunch of words and letting this flow. But most people don't feel the value in themselves. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they deserve to feel good. They feel like they have to earn the right to be happy. And they think that if someone else is happy, that there's less happy to go around. They believe to some degree, because of the traumas and the pains, and more importantly, the poison, that the extent of their life experience is going to be what's directly in front of them instead of what is inside them. And when I'm teaching these very basic principles that are super, super unlocking and empowering, basically going, you have always, even at your lowest, been reaching for your higher self. There's a version of you that gave you that thought that maybe we should do better. There's a higher version of you that has gone, okay, we can get through today. Now, the action that comes along with that could be one more sip. I don't want that thought. I don't want that anxiety. I don't want that fear. I don't want that feeling. I don't want to deal with their crap. So I'm going to drink and I'm going to prepare and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And as long as I could feel safe, I'm reaching who I believe I know I am. More importantly, who I prefer to be in this environment. It took me years of development, years of meditation and practice and programs and coaching and mentorships and study and reading for me to realize that the person that I am now, the person that you hear and see right now, is exactly who I was uncovering when I was drinking. I knew wholeheartedly that this guy existed. And it took me a long time to kind of put the pieces together because I had to go through this level or this kind of process of dismantling. And I go, who is this person now? Who am I right now as Cody Rain, international thought leader, global behavior specialist, creator of Beyond Sober, best-selling author, whatever you want to use. None of those are who I am. Those are just things that I've accomplished. But who is this guy? What are his attributes? I'm one of the most confident people in the room. I prefer to be like that. So if that's my preferred state of being, then how was I reaching that when I was unhealthy? I would take a drink and ignore how insecure I was. This guy that you hear right now has a consistent flow and train of thought, always has something to say, always has something to contribute, always wants to improve the quality of the lives of the people around them. So how did he do that when he was sick? He would drink and give himself permission to be silly. He would drink and give himself permission to be patient when listening to another person's discrepancies. When they were going on with their drama, I was relating to them with mine. I was actively stepping into a state of consciousness, even though I was under the influence. And what that did is that built the illusion of true connection, which is coincidentally the opposite of addiction. So as an unhealthy person, I still admired and respected and was striving for the attributes that define me as I know myself to be today. This is why I have no judgment when people are drinking. I get it. I get it 100%. I don't care if it's, I don't care what the substance is. I get it. It either blocks our awareness to specific pains or ailments, physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, financial, dude. That bill's still showing up even though you're drinking. Or, once again, it gives us kind of a focal point. It gives us a data point to our preferred state of being. Also, just kind of contributing to that, I still, as a former alcoholic that had a full-blown addiction, I still want what alcohol provides. You think I don't want what alcohol provides? Everybody on earth wants what alcohol provides. The difference is I don't want to go through a poison to get it. That's what personal development is. And that's why I focus so heavily on evolution, on transformation, on transmutation, on ascension in general, is we want to look at ourselves and go, what are the attributes that I think would define me as my preferred person? If I had to evolve into somebody that kind of resembled and embodied who I needed when I was at my lowest, what would those attributes be? What would define that person? What would they look like? What would they think? What would they say? Where would they go? Where would they be coming from every time they showed up? What would their future look like? What would their present moment look like? What would their past look like? And as I personally started to take these programs and work with mentors and coaches, and they started to help me open my perspectives, I started to realize that I have to start doing what that person would do before I become who that person actually is. And so I wanted discipline. right? The preferred version of me has a lot of discipline. He shows up every day. He does what he has to do. He does it because he doesn't want to. So what did I have to do when I was in recovery? I had to show up. I had to find a way to make my legs work. I had to find a way to eat the food. I was nauseous, man. I didn't want to eat. I had no appetite, man. I obviously couldn't drink because I had stage 4 cirrhosis, just survived liver failure, man. What do I have to do? What are the attributes? Dude, I have to force myself in certain circumstances to eat, to think, to say, to respond, to relax. The difficulties were equal with every single thing that I was doing. And here's what I understood about myself through alcoholism. You have no idea how powerful an alcoholic is. You have no true understanding of what an alcoholic is capable of. A majority of people that we would call alcoholics, we would never trade places with. You want to know why? It's because we couldn't hack it. There's no way we could emotionally, physically, psychologically handle what that person is going through every single day. Never. Yet we want to put these people down. We want to speak to them like they are less than human. We want to attempt to convince them that they are the problem when they are doing things you couldn't possibly fathom. I know for a fact that if you had an option to get everything you wanted and the only thing that you had to do is do everything that an alcoholic was doing, you wouldn't do it. You know why? Because you don't have the balls. You don't have what it takes to survive a state of true alcoholism. These are people that need to be admired and respected and praised. They need to be studied. They need to be put up on the highest of highs, man. And here's the trip. Every person that's struggling with alcoholism just wants to be seen. When I'm sitting with people, man, and I'm not speaking to them like a number, like a patient, like a problem, when I'm not talking to them about alcohol, I'm talking to them about who they are. When I am hearing the stories they've created for themselves as they're attempting to convince me that they are an alcoholic, that they are an addict, that they are a problem, I'm humbly sitting here going, yeah, but that's not who you are, bro. That's who you've told yourself you were. That's who you tell everybody else you are. That's who you continue to operate as. But dude, you're the warrior. You're the badass. You're the one showing up. I know you drink. I know you party. You're not doing that because you're a bad person. You're immoral. Because there's something wrong with you. Because you have a fucking disease. You don't have a disease, dude. You're operating from a state of survival. Fueled by safety. You want to feel safe. Who doesn't? The difference between just not drinking and recovery, though, is not drinking will put you into a state of sober. There's no such thing as sobriety. Sobriety isn't real. You are either sober or you are intoxicated. When you are not intoxicating yourself, you are sober. Sober at 4 days is the exact same amount of sober as you're going to be at 40 years. You cannot get more sober than sober. Nobody is more sober than anybody else. Yet people continue to count days and talk about being in sobriety. Either you're focusing on your health and happiness, and in doing so, there's no toxins or poisons or substances in your body. Therefore, you're in a state of clinically sober, or you're white knuckling through a state of recovery, if you choose to call it that, and you're one emotion away of picking up the drink or consuming that substance again. The point is, you are either faded or you're not. Nothing changes between your last drink. Nothing since day 4 and day 40. Nothing will be different. Nothing magical happens the longer you go. So many people latch on to the identity of sober. It's a cult now, dude. It's a cult because people don't understand what they're saying. You don't know what you're saying. To call yourself sober, to identify as sober, is literally to say, I'm an alcoholic identifying as a sober person. Instead of you using your name, instead of you promoting your successes, instead of you capitalizing on how well you're doing, what you're focused on, what direction you're heading, you are identifying as the problem. You're identifying as sober. This is why I'm such a heavy hitter for Beyond Sober. My frustrations are just over the moon, bro. People just don't understand what sober means. This is it. for all you sober coaches out there, for everybody who thinks they understand what sober is, I need you to look it up, GPT it, whatever. You're going to get all these different renditions. I don't need your interpretation. I don't need your thoughts, your feelings. I don't need you to, kind of come up with an idea of what sober is. This is what sober is. 4 days, no substances, sober. That is it. That is it. You're not an Olympian. You're not anything more than not intoxicated. That's incredible. That doesn't mean you're happy. That doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't mean you're abundant or grateful. It doesn't mean you're evolving, transcending. It doesn't mean you're practicing anything other than not doing something. And to define yourself and put an umbrella label under what you're not doing instead of what you are is insane. You don't understand the detriments of doing these things to your brain. You got to remember, dude, you called yourself an alcoholic. They said you were a problem drinker. They said you had a problem, man. You started looking at AA and all these other programs and doing all this stuff. And then what happened is your brain, through repetition and practice, just assumed that the logical conclusion that you want to think and feel every single day is alcoholic, is problem, is broken, forever fucked. Therefore, you develop not only the identity, but the practices to make that true. What do you think sober does? Sober means you have a problem and you're choosing not to drink. And that's it. That's what it is. That's what you want. That's what you want your legacy to be. Just the state of sober. Do you know how many sober people I know that hate themselves? How many people do you think commit atrocities and they're fated? Most of these people aren't. They're crazy, but they're not under the influence, dude. Lots of insanely just complicated things happen from an absolute pure state of sober. Sober is just sober. It's not the peak of your accomplishments, dude. It is not the height of your identity. Who are you when you're not allowed to use that word sober? That's my question. If you weren't allowed to use the word sober or any variation of it, sobriety, in sobriety, I'm sober, I don't know, what words would you use? You got to remember this. Right now, what you're hearing, what you're seeing right now is the first moment of the rest of your life. Anything that I say to you is what I'm identifying as. I'm not identifying as something I'm not doing. I'm identifying and projecting what I am doing. This is me right here, right now, doing what I am. I'm not talking about what I'm not doing. Imagine if the whole time you're listening to me, I'm going well, I didn't eat a burrito today, and I definitely didn't go to the store, and, I didn't go drop the kids off at school, and I didn't, rake the yard today, and I didn't do this, and guess what else I'm not doing? And I'm not going over here, and I'm not exporting these files, and I'm not creating content about this. Shut the front door, bro. Nobody cares. You know how insane that is? That is living in the past, man. You're trying to pull these false realities, moments that were once true way back, into the present moment. You're not even here, dude. You're not even here. I want you to think about it like this. Homegirl that I just met, dude, absolutely phenomenal human being, dude. I'm so proud of her. I'm not even worried about her. I told her this before we started talking. I was engaging or kind of gauging her energy where she was at. And I said, hey, I'm going to do something different. Okay. I've never done this before, but I'm going to do it with you right now. We're going to have a conversation. But before we get started, I'm going to present to you two options. Do you want to tell me about who you think you are, what you've done, what you didn't do, and how you got here? Or do you want to use this moment as an opportunity to paint to me who you actually are, what you are working on, and what truly matters to you moving forward? And she says, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you asked that, because I'm so tired of these other programs trying to convince me that I am the sum of everything that's ever happened to me. Going through the war stories, talking about how I got here, talking about who I was, what happened to me, all these things. None of that matters. None of it matters. How you got here doesn't matter. How you ended up on this podcast, how you ended up watching this doesn't matter. It doesn't change the data that you're receiving right now. Who you think you are and the lens that you're perceiving it through does. So are you perceiving it through the lens of who you think you are or used to be? Or are you practicing taking this information in from a healthier, more progressive and transformative state? Because I promise you, you're gonna get whatever it is that you're looking for, dude. This is why I have sober squads that have been coming after me for years, death threats and shit. I'm saying literally the exact same things. And the reason they're coming after me is because they're sick. And guess what happens? They start to heal a little bit more. They start to do a little bit of work. And then they come back to me and I have messages on messages on messages of people going, hey, I'm so sorry, bro. I was really angry. And I thought that you were trying to degrade us. I thought that you were trying to say that you were better. I thought that there was a hierarchy. I thought that you were trying to get money from us. I thought that you were all these assumptions with the same exact information. They go like, I just realized that you're actually here to help, that you actually give a shit, that you actually want to see us succeed, man. And with that, I'm proudly going through one of your programs. Amazing, dude. You know, bullies of mine, people that left me bloody and dead on the side of the street, that stole my shoes and left me bleeding from the ears, are in some of my programs. You gotta be fucking joking, dude. Isn't that crazy? Interesting. How sick people do sick things. Angry people do angry things. Unhealthy people do unhealthy things. Guess what healed people do? They help others heal. Guess what healthy people do? They help others get healthy. This is just practice, man. You are going to become whatever you practice. So what story are you practicing? Are you practicing, I'm the alcoholic that can't do this, that this happened, and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 and my dad, and genetics, and all these things, in my environment, and I can't, and I'm a foster child, and my dad was an alcoholic, and my mom's still struggling, and I've been out of rehab, and I can't now. Shut the fuck up, dude. Keep saying it. Keep saying it. It's going to be true. You're going to make it true. Either it's whatever you say, your brain is going to make it true. If that's true, and everything that you've said to yourself, and everything that everybody else has said to you, and everything that you've accepted has created the identity of someone that you don't prefer to be, then doesn't it make logical sense that if you start saying things in your preferred state of being, if you start thinking thoughts the way a healthier version of you would, if you started doing things the way the preferred version of you would naturally develop the thoughts, feelings, and take the actions on, and develop the identity as the person far greater than the struggle you've been living in? That's just neuroscience. That's just how it works. Now, trust me, dude, it took me a very, very long time to understand this because I'm stubborn. I got ADHD, dude. It is all over the place. Holy crap, dude. I was narcissistic, like womanizing. Oh my God, dude. Like, just crazy. Like, I'm not happy about any of those traits. Thankfully, through recovery and healing and healthy, very challenging relationships, I was able to overcome all of those things. I understand them, and I want to understand them. I'm a curious cat, and it's because of this understanding. It's because of the work that I've done, not just for myself, but with others, that I have been able to help so many people uncover new perspectives. That's what this tattoo says on my neck. I don't know if you can read that. It's probably covered with headphones. But Wayne Dyer said it best, and I live by this phrase. I even said it today. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That includes yourself. That includes who you see in the mirror. You can start telling a new story. And your brain isn't going to sit there and go, yeah, but that's not true. You can't do that. You can't say that. You're not allowed to do that. Remember this? You may have some programs that run in your subconscious that may make it feel weird, but you can literally introduce yourself to the world every single day in any way that you want. And your brain is just going to take it. It's an idiot. Your brain, my brain, is an idiot. It is just a lump of jello in a dark room that we call the skull that's trying to figure out what's going on. That's why we have a nervous system, dude. That's why we have all 5, 6 senses, right? Our brain is just this mush that's firing these signals going, I don't know what to do. Is this what you want me to do? Dude, the food that you feed your brain is information. It's data. It's action. If you do nothing, your brain's going to assume that you want nothing. Therefore, you're going to get nothing. If you want something, you have to do something. And when you do something, you'll probably get what it is that you're searching for. Worst case is you learn how it doesn't work and you could do it better. But we're all just seeking a feeling, man. That is it. We're all, whether we're drinking, whether we're partying, whether we're relaxing, whether you're listening right now or watching, you're seeking a feeling. You're allowed to feel that feeling, but not the other ones. You're allowed to feel all the bad ones, but not the good ones. Who told you that, dude? Who's been telling you that? And why have you been listening to them? That is just crazy, man. Some of the most amazing things I've ever learned about not just alcoholism in general and about myself, but about the amazing people that I meet every single day is people who have identified as an alcoholic are absolutely relentless. They are some of the most passionate, some of the most intuitive, emotionally inclined, and receptive human beings on earth. These are people that you actually want to know. If you can break through that illusion that you've created for yourself, that an alcoholic is just this immoral, less than human being that's choosing an addiction over their family, and you could see them as one of the strongest and most powerful survivors you're ever going to meet in your entire life, I guarantee you're going to treat them differently. You're going to praise them, respect them, admire them. It is that encouragement that breeds connection. That connection is the opposite of the illusion that they're seeking with every sip. The people that struggle the hardest have the most to offer. The people that are stuck or feel stuck in an addictive pattern or cycle or practice are so committed, so powerful, so in tune with not just safety, but surviving, that these are the people that you want on your team. These are the people that have done things that most people on earth couldn't possibly fathom. And I say this to go, most alcoholics are going through things other people on earth couldn't imagine. They don't have the go. They don't have the experience. They don't have the balls to do what alcoholics do. Even those that don't have a full-blown addiction, but are practicing alcoholic behavior. Do you have any idea what it takes to commit to poisoning yourself and still show up with a smile? Do you know what happens in the brain of an alcoholic knowing that that sip may be the last sip, yet they're going to do it anyway because they love themselves, even on their worst day? Do you have any concept of what actually goes on in the psyche of someone that doesn't feel worthy enough to be here, but can't escape their own reality? The people that we brush off, the people that we call alcoholics, the people that we think can't hack it, the people that appear to be sacrificing their brain and body are the ones that are far beyond anything that could be taught. And I say this because a majority of people on earth would never consciously, willingly, on purpose do what alcoholics do, ever. If someone came up to me and said, Cody, you're going to be twice as happy, you're going to make 3 times the money, and you're going to have 4 times the amount of fun, but the only thing that you have to do is die one more time. You have to go through your liver failure with no meds, and you are going to scream for 11 days straight. You are going to beg for death. You're going to have to relive all of that trauma, moment by moment, completely aware. This time, you're not going to be able to hallucinate. You're going to go full force. It's going to hurt even worse than the first time. But you're going to have everything you want. You're going to be twice as happy, 3 times the fun, 4 times the money, or whatever. I would say, hell yeah. Let's go, bro. Let's go. And it's not because I can handle it. It's because I know what's on the other side. I know that the density of your pain is equal to your joy. This is why I'm talking to people and going, yeah, I understand your alcoholic behavior, bro. And I want you to know that you believe it's getting worse, and you may feel that way. And the worst thing that's going to happen to you is a feeling. You can continue doing exactly what you're doing and getting what you've always got, or we could transmute that discipline and that passion, that pain and that survival into actual thriving and expanding and growing and building. And in doing so, you're going to realize that the rest of your life is easy peasy. Life doesn't get easier. You just get better at living it. Those that have struggled with addiction, those that have struggled with alcoholism in general, become some of the most exponentially profound and impactful human beings I've ever met and ever seen. I think Steve-O says it. He says alcoholics are some of the only people that turn out better on the other side. That's absolute facts. And you don't have to have a full-blown addiction or a dependency and be clinically called an alcoholic for you to be doing the exact same amount of damage, struggling emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, in the exact same ways that an alcoholic would. As a matter of fact, if you are practicing those behaviors and you are generating those results and you aren't taking action, in my opinion, it's sometimes worse. And it's worse because you actually have the option to slow down, to consume less, to consider one less sip. We call this the single shot method. But choosing to continue a path that you know is not right for you, that's what Gabor says is an addiction, is consuming something that you know is not good for you and is actively damaging your environment and choosing to do it anyway. I'm telling you this, man. I know for a fact. The reality of that is nothing one more drink can't fix. If you were to take any phrase away from what I'm saying to understand someone who's struggling with substances, specifically alcohol, one of my favorite phrases is, that's nothing one more drink can't fix. What that means is the feeling of realizing you're hurting yourself, the feeling of knowing that you're making it worse, the feeling of accepting that things could be better, but you're not doing anything about it, is dissipated, destroyed, completely dismantled with one shot. Soon you won't feel it. And then you'll be who you prefer to be, someone that doesn't have to worry about those things. But this is why I struggle forward and help others do the same. I want you to become someone who doesn't have those worries, but also isn't reliant on a substance to get there. All of those things that you prefer when you're drinking, they're accessible when you're not. But the illusion when we're in the middle of it is it is so far away. Alcohol, I couldn't imagine my life without alcohol. I could not imagine going through life without my coping mechanism. I couldn't imagine not feeling safe as a healthy person. That's because we've never been happy and truly healthy. The crazy part is happy, healthy people don't live in a state of fear and they don't need a coping mechanism. Happy, healthy people, or people that are practicing these behaviors, have very simple processes like breathing that literally eliminate that state of fear and that underlying dread. This is where we look at this and go, I understand how they feel this way because the alcohol is literally disrupting their chemical balance, and the natural response is a state of fear. That state of fear is curbed with one more drink. Everything is curbed with one more drink. But the crazy part is the thing that's numbing us is also destroying us too. We cannot see the person that's right in front of us because we're on another planet. Too many relationships. I'm watching one unfold right now. Getting married. Dude, they've been drinking since they met in a bar. Whoa! They didn't even know each other. They've never truly gotten to know each other. They've been faded the whole time they've known each other. Whoa! I know people who have had kids and then stopped drinking and then finally got to know their children. And this isn't even people who had an addiction or a dependency. This is just people who were drinking casually. They had children. They had babies, man. They raised them and then realized that they couldn't even feel their child's love. But they realized that in a state of recovery. They realized that, holy crap, I've been taking care of my kids, but I haven't felt like a parent. Now that they feel like a parent, they don't take advantage of their kids' affection. They are directly involved. They can see who their kids are actually becoming. They're not numb to the little nuances of the family dynamics, the good and the bad ones. They are as present as they can possibly be. And most people that thrive and grow and expand in these spaces would rather be sober and miserable than artificially happy under the influence of a neurotoxin that tastes like strawberries. Remember, the worst thing that's ever going to happen to you is a better life. if you decide to take your health and happiness seriously. Sobriety isn't real. Sober is. Nobody is in sobriety like they're in church. You're either practicing the healthy behaviors, abstinence, and you're in an active state of sober and taking that seriously, or practicing making it serious for you, or the opposite. You're in between drinks. You're still sober if you're in between drinks, but there's still a higher chance that you may not relapse, but lapse from that state. Remember, that state of sober is a reflection of what you've been doing since your last drink. So if you're just sitting naked in a beanbag chair eating Cheetos and you're not going for a hike, you're not eating better foods, you're not talking to people, you're not imbibing talks, you're not reading, you're not doing anything that's challenging yourself, you are going to be the exact same person, just with no substances in their brain, which means you are just as likely to go right back to who you don't prefer to be. You're one emotion away from a lapse. I encourage people to lapse. No, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not saying it's a good thing for the most part. I'm saying that a lapse is necessary because we need to know what doesn't work. We need to know who you were before you took that sip, before you decided that you didn't matter, that what you were doing was worth sacrificing. We need to know what that thought was, because that is the addiction. The addiction is to the emotion. The addiction is to the familiarity. The addiction isn't to the alcohol. The addiction is to the recognizable and predictable pain. I know how to operate with poison in my veins. I know what to expect with chaos in my homes. I know what to predict for tomorrow because it's chaos. It is drama. It is violence. It is negative. And if I can predict all of those things and I could expect that, I have less anxiety, even though the poison that I'm using to curb my awareness to these things gives me more anxiety. Most people don't continue moving forward because they are afraid of stillness. They are afraid of the peace that comes along with happiness. I've worked with people that have been through so much continuous chaos that the thought of being hugged by another person makes them put up a fist. They don't know what it's like to be happy. They don't know what it's like to feel healthy. They don't know what it's like to not have to work for their love. They just assume that everything is an argument. Everybody has something bad to say about them. Every single person is plotting against them. Their nervous system is just wrecked. And because of that belief and that feeling and that chemical state of being, they chalk that up to life sucks, I suck, they suck, we all suck, I'll just drink about it. Dude, I'm telling you, man, focus forward, take care of yourself. You don't need a reason to be happy, and you don't need to earn the pleasure. If you or someone you know is struggling, if you're ready to evolve, if you're ready to elevate, you don't just want to be sober, you want to be so far beyond sober that you forgot you ever even had a problem, reach out, dude. Join the program. The program is self-paced, dude. 15,000 people have already benefited from that program, dude. And we're just getting started. We are traveling all over the planet, making serious magic happen. And I'd love your story to be featured on the website, to be featured in the testimonials, to be featured in the socials, man. Your story deserves to be heard. I promise you, you're not the one that can't do it. If you're struggling, that feeling is just a feeling. There's never been a single person that I've ever met that was the one that couldn't make it work. And if you're ready, or if you think you're ready, or you want something new, or you want to challenge yourself in a way that's actually going to improve your overall quality of life, I'm waiting for you, right? So check it out. BeyondSoberPro.com or BeyondSober.org or Google Beyond Sober. You can't miss it. If you prefer to read, BeyondSoberBook.com. Get it on Amazon, dude. Tons of people are reading this book. The amazing human I just met already got her hands on a copy before we even met. It's like 127 pages of badass. It's a workbook. It's a handbook. You can write in it, dude. It tells you exactly how to use it. There's a dedication to you in there as well. If you need coaching or you're ready to work with an absolute specialist who's been there, that's done that, that's worked with countless people and has 6 different programs, that is recognized as a thought leader and behavior specialist, dude, trust me, I'm not overbooked. I'd like to be. I love you. With that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. My name is Cody Rain, and take care of you.